I am now recording to the cloud. So welcome everybody for this showcase with .NET. We're going to go ahead and get started, but I wanted to go over a few rules of conduct before we begin. I ask everybody else in the audience at this time, please remain on mute to not to be a distraction to the batch as they present. And as always, please save your questions towards the end of their presentation so that way we can address everybody in the room accordingly and in order. And then finally, if you are with any of our external clients, meaning somebody that doesn't work with Reviture and is one of our clients that we work with, please DM me privately so that way I know you're in the room. Otherwise, at this time, I will now turn it over to the batch. So guys, take it away.
Okay, Chase, could you go ahead and share your screen since you'll be the main presenter for today?
Of course.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Suraj Kulika. I'm a full stack .NET developer here at Reviture. I've had the privilege of being the Scrum Master for RP3. What is RP3? It's Revobox Games. So what is Revobox Games? Could you go over to the next slide, please? So Revobox Games is a social gaming hub. Users can collaborate, it can compete in very different type of party games with up to 4 different players. You can create teams, compete for scores, talk to your teams within lobbies and the game rooms. You can browse different games, you can access the leaderboard. And you have 3 different types of gaming experience. You have SongSync, you have Battleship, and you have .NET Royale. So what is this in a nutshell? So a quick way to explain what our P3 entails is you go into our website, you log in or create an account, and from there you can join or create a team, and then from then on you can choose a game mode you want to navigate to, which would be the SongSync, Battleship, or .NET Royale. And my colleagues will explain more about what those gaming experience entails later on. But after those games are completed, you play the game, your score is then published after the game is over to a leaderboard and a team leaderboard if you are in a team. Could you go over to the next slide? So our P3 is actually quite different than usual P3s. We're not a P2 refactor, we're P2 refactors, as in we refactored 3 different P2s to create our P3. We migrated over, to do this, we migrated over from the previously service-oriented architecture to a microservice architecture, where each previous P2 is now a microservice. So we had party games, SongSync, and Battleship. We created those as a microservice, and we created a new service called the Game Hub service, which acted as our main service. So to create this, to make this new architecture, we utilized Kubernetes. And as you can see there, we listed out our services with a Battleship service, a SongSync service, a .NET Royale service, a Game Hub service, and a user service. So how did we, what was our tech stack for this entire run? Our tech stack, just going through the list really quick, it's a .NET framework. That's what we use to create our application, using C# for our API services and Angular TypeScript for our front end. We use Serilog for logging. We use Socket.io, which is basically a real-time application framework, which is based on Node.js. That's how we use, that's what we use to create our lobbies and our multiplayer aspect for our games. We also actually use SignalR, which is an open source software library within ASP.NET to create our chat within the Game Hub and to create team and user connections. And we use Azure Kubernetes Service to manage and scale our containers, Docker to containerize our services, and Docker Hub as where we host our images. We use Sonar Cloud for our code analysis. We use the ASP Core Web API for creating our API services. And we use an Azure SQL service for our database and Entity Framework Core as our ORM, our object relational mapper, using a code-first approach to create our database. And then we used XUnit and SQLite for our unit testing, Git for version control, GitHub for where we're storing our repos, and GitHub Actions is where we basically set up our CI/CD pipelines. We also used a Kanban board for basic management tools to track our workload, basically. And now I'll turn it over to Sean, who was in fact our team lead for both DevOps and our Game Hub service.
Hello, my name is Sean Young. I was the team leader for the DevOps/GameHub team. First, I'd like to talk about what we did for DevOps. We set up a continuous integration, continuous deployment pipeline. So after our code was pushed to the GitHub repo, Sonar Cloud would analyze it, and assuming it passed its quality gates, it would be turned into a Docker image, Docker image hosted on Docker Hub. From Docker Hub, we set up the Azure Kubernetes service to pull those images and run those images on containers on the Azure Kubernetes service. Next slide. So with our app architecture, as previously mentioned, we have each sort of game as its own service, but then in the front end, we integrated all of the different sort of game modules into a single front end served from a single endpoint. But each microservice has its own API, its own socket server, and a database behind it. We also worked on the GameHub service, which was built from scratch. It was not a P2 refactor. So one of the main features is sort of the live chat and sort of team notifications using SignalR that we made. So one of the main features that we wanted to add to from the P2 refactors is sort of teams. Being able to join a team, create a team, and sort of play with teammates. And we wanted to make that as responsive as possible. So when let's say you make a request to join a team, the team leader will automatically be notified that someone has made a request. And so we tried to make that as responsive as possible. Another thing we wanted to do is that since all of the games require you to log in, have accounts, we manage the main sort of user information infrastructure for authentication and authorization. And for that, we used Auth0. And so we both have protected endpoints through the API, as well as guarding front-end routes, depending on whether you're logged in or not. As I previously mentioned, with teams, you can search teams, join teams, chat with team members, and compete with other teams on a team leaderboard. Next slide. So for authentication, it was a pretty straightforward process. Through Auth0, the user logs in and gets an identity token. We can then exchange that identity token for an access token, which we then attach to all of our requests to the API. And now I'll pass it off to Jacob, who will walk you through the first game, Songs Inc.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jacob Maniscalco. I'm the team lead for the Songs Inc. game. So I'm going to provide a quick overview of our game and the features we provided, and then go into a demo here in a little bit. So Songs Inc. is an interactive drawing game in which users select a category and word to draw for other users to guess. So if you've ever played Pictionary or Scribble.io, it's very similar to those. So users can earn points by correctly guessing a word and use those points to create their own categories and words to play with. So some of the features of our game include a live chat. So users can chat with other users as well as use that chat to submit a guess. We have a leaderboard to display user rankings. This is a multiplayer game, and using WebSockets, it's a real-time game. So you're able to see the drawing in real time and guess in real time. So this does include an interactive drawing board. So some options provided to users are to change your brush size, change colors on kind of drawing you want to create. And finally, you are able to create your own categories and words. This did turn out to be a blocker in that a user can create their own categories and words, but they are not able to choose those categories at this moment. So that is a feature that will be needed to be implemented at a later time. So I will pass along to Chase to discuss the Battleship game.
All right, my name is Chase Yandel. I was the team lead on the Battleship portion of this Revobox Games. And our Battleship is a revamped version where you can play either the classic game board with 2 players going against each other with their array of ships. But we also added in cooperative mode where 2 people are on one team. One person is on the seas and one is in the skies. So in our game as well, users can view the leaderboards, play games against other players, and work with another player to beat the enemy team. So to accomplish this, we also have a live chat, the leaderboards, and we use Socket.io as well to update the game state for every shot and updating the boards and being able to view your board as well as the hidden enemy board and see which boats are left. And as in terms of blockers, we did run into a few last minute blockers in terms of getting the user information, as well as updating the scores based on that user information. And the aerial assets had gotten jumbled. So that is a very easy to fix blocker that will be patched in the near future, but it is currently a blocker in our application as it is now. So I will pass it over to Thomas to talk about the party game.
Thank you, Chase. Hi, I'm Thomas. I'm a .NET full stack developer with Revature and am the team lead for this vertical of the project, the .NET Royale party game service. So I'll give a brief overview about our service and then talk about some of the features that we had developed. So .NET Royale is a 4-game party pack included with Revbox games in which players can create rooms and then participate in real-time multiplayer games. Users can see their wins and losses on their personal profile and compete for the highest scores on a global leaderboard. Some of the features within our game that are quite unique is we have a mini game party matchmaking where users can party up with up to 4 other people and then compete within a series of games that we had developed. Of these include Snake, Tic-Tac-Toe, Blackjack, and Light Bike. All of these games support real-time multiplayer, with Tic-Tac-Toe and Blackjack being turn-based, and then Snake and Light Bike being real-time, where each game tick, all the other players in the lobby have to be rendered to the canvas. On top of this, within the lobby and within the party, you have live chat services where you can communicate with other people within the .NET Royale app and within your own party. Outside of competing with your own party members, you can also compete against global leaderboards, where you can compare your user stats found within your user profile against global leaderboards and see where your standings are. Some of the blockers within development were Blackjack, where that game required a basically complete overhaul in order to get our turn-based multiplayer to work, and then Snake as well. We found it quite difficult in order to get reliably every other client's information and then render all of those assets to the screen. But we were able to accomplish all of that and get a pretty nice final product. So I guess we'll move on from the demo to the demo from here.
Okay. Oh, let me go ahead and request remote control. Okay, so as I previously mentioned, my team worked on the game hub and the authentication. So let's start by just logging in here, if I can. Okay, and so you can either create your own account or just use your Google account. We're just going to go ahead and use a Google account here.
The first option.
First option. Okay, sorry.
Time.
Okay, and so now we're logged in, and that was all handled via Auth0. And so let's go ahead and first go to our team feature. So integral to sort of the game hub is the creation and sort of management of teams. So let's go ahead and create a team. Let's call ourselves Island Reactions. A little description here. Okay. And you'll notice that we automatically created we're a member of this new team. And requests will start showing up in real time as they come in. And so if I accept, these users will automatically be added to your team. And here we have real-time notifications. Some of them are a bit covering the chat room here. And everyone can communicate in the chat room. Sorry, it's a bit small. Okay, and so right here in our live chat, we are able to view the number of users currently connected, and that's updated in real time, which was achieved by mapping the user information using the token and mapping that with connections as well as the users in the database. So small little feature, but a lot of work for that small little feature. And that also allows us to have team-wide notifications, as well as individual notifications. Say, if you're the leader and you're in a game and someone applies to join your team, you'll be notified of that through the same sort of service. So we'll be going through the leaderboard later once we have played some games, but there is a team leaderboard. And as you win, you will accrue points and can compete via these team leaderboards. And with that, I will hand it over back to Jacob, who will walk you through the first game. Oh, let me. Okay.
All right, so let's play a game of Songs Inc. So this is our lobby screen. I'm going to go ahead and create a lobby. So I'm able to choose a category. So I'm going to go ahead and choose movies and enter my lobby. So we do have a live chat functionality in our game. So as you can see, the category is displayed as well as the hidden word. And this is what I think it is, Shrek. We will sit in our guess. That guess is correct. And our score is updated accordingly. It's very nice drawing, Thomas. All right, so it looks like it's my turn now. So let's see, Star Wars. So there is some input delay on here. So anyone in the lobby, it's Star Wars. Go ahead and make your guess. Yep. All right, so that's the basic game functionality. Let's go ahead and leave and take a look at the leaderboard. So as you can see, I correctly guessed one word, so my leaderboard score is updated. And as I mentioned, there was some issues implementing the choosing your own custom category. But in this screen, you are able to create a category and corresponding words once you've earned enough points. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and pass it along to Chase.
All right, I'll take control of my own screen now. So we will go into Battleship. So in Battleship, we do have a toggle to switch between cooperative and and solo play, as well as having a lobby chat in this menu here. And as part of the blockers, as we mentioned, right now everyone is just given a guest ID until we fix the user information. So we'll create a new 1 versus 1 game. And currently we can set up the board. And now that another person has entered the game board and is setting up their board, we can deploy our boats once they are all placed, either horizontally or vertically. And the other person is ready, so we'll ready up as well. So it will take a random person to start first, and we'll give a shot. Wait for them. So we got a hit. Oh, and so play will... Ah, the secret has been revealed, it looks like. So as boats are sunk, they'll proceed from a fire icon to a debris icon, as well as be removed from the possible ships left to hit. Currently, just like with the aerial assets, some of the sound assets are not available, but at the end of the game, we will have an asset be deployed. Then with the last shot. So the game is over, so we can go back to the lobby. And once each room is filled up, it is removed from the room list. So as far as the cooperative mode goes, actually, it looks like the assets are now available. It just might be duplicating them, or it was probably just for the planes. So in the same vein, we have just 4 boards and just 2 people are on the same team. And since everyone is now in, we can ready up. And might have an issue with myself being included twice. Or not. Okay. So you are actually able to see your team board. And it does proceed in order of everybody. So you can see kind of their everyone's turns in order, as well as still chat in the chat box. And if someone does leave early in case they feel they are going to lose, the opposing team will be given the win and the loss stat will still be recorded. Currently, we have our leaderboard not functioning at this time just due to the user issues that we ran into the last minute before we were setting up the images. So I will then pass it on to Thomas.
All right, let me take control of the screen. Here we are. And we'll go ahead and demo a little bit of .NET Royale and what we did within this game. Okay, here's our home screen. Here you have the ability to play or look at the global leaderboard or your own user profile to see your user stats. So if we click on leaderboard, we could see all the leaderboard stats that have been recorded for each individual mini game. So Snake, it'll show your highest score. And then with Blackjack, Tic-Tac-Toe, and Light Bike, you get the highest win-loss percentage. And then user profile, it looks like he has been playing Blackjack, Tic-Tac-Toe, or Light Bike, but he has played Snake, so you can see his average score and high score recorded in Snake, and then he doesn't have any entries for the other mini games. So if we go to play, we can see our lobby and matchmaking system. Here we have a live chat functionality in the bottom left, which is live. Hello, everyone. Shout out. And then we can create a room here at the top. We'll just call it game time. And after creating a room, clicking add and join, it'll automatically join you and set you as host of the lobby. After the party gets to 4, it's capped. From here, as the host, I can choose either to commit us to a random game, a Snake game, Blackjack, Tic-Tac-Toe, or Light Bike. We'll go ahead and start with Blackjack. So at the top, you can see the dealer's hand and then the point turn. So here it'd be me first. I have 9 points, so we'll go ahead and hit. I have 18 points. What does the dealer have? 9. We'll go ahead and stand on 18. That's a safe place. Caleb's turn. He got 21. That's going to be a hard one to beat. It looks like we won. The dealer had busted. Nice. And then if we go back and check out our other games, we can see we could try out Snake. Get everybody into here. And so now we have a real-time Snake game. There's a little bit of input delay because I'm controlling Chase's screen, so forgive me. But here you have a real-time Snake game with a lobby of other people. You have 3 lives that can be seen in the upper right. You have the score in the upper left, and then you have the current highest score in the lobby in the upper center. I cannot get this food at all. There we go. If you run into somebody else, you die and you're reverted back to one size, but you keep your high score and that would continue to go up. So after all 3 lives are expended, for everybody in the lobby, the highest score wins. So if we go ahead and expend these lives so we can show some of the other games. There we are. And then the current highest score in the lobby was 1,000, and that was committed to the global leaderboard. So if we go back to the main menu, we can see our tic-tac-toe game, which is a multiplayer tic-tac-toe game. Hopefully everybody's back so I can commit us to lobby. We are, it'd be my turn first. This is a variable tic-tac-toe game depending on players. So the scale of the map will change depending on how many players play. And it's the traditional 3 in a row rules to win. So it's a little bit different than the normal strategy, but it's a pretty fun game to play. I win there. Oh, I think Siraj got it. Okay, that works. So that is our tic-tac-toe game. And if we go back to the menu, we can show off the light bike game, which is a variation of the Snake multiplayer. So if everybody's back, I can commit ourselves into that. So this is our light bike game. It's similar to Snake, but there's no food and you have 3 lives. So it's the longest lasting will win. There is currently a bug where for some reason, the second position on the snake, the box behind the head, is like an invincibility box where if a snake goes inside of that, they for some reason won't get killed, but hitting any other part on the snake, they will. So that is a bug that we need to flesh out. But if I go ahead and end all my lives here. Okay, everybody died, so we didn't get to see the win condition. But the win condition is the last snake is able to move on forever, which is kind of neat. So returning to lobby, we have the live chat within our party. So this live chat is just relevant to everybody else here. So let's say hello. And then we can go back and look at the leaderboard stats and see how Chase's leaderboards profile stats have changed. So here you can see he had won the blackjack game, so he has a 1.0 win-loss, and he had lost the tic-tac-toe game, unfortunately, so he has a 0. Same with light bike. But these scores are all updated in real time, and then back at the leaderboard, we have all these leaderboard stats. So I believe that's the end of the demo for .NET Royale. Yeah, the sound might be off for the share screen. We do have sounds for everything. So I'll give it back to Suraj, maybe?
No, we'll go ahead and hand it over to Chase for the last minute leaderboard, team leaderboard.
Or Sean, you mean?
Sean, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, you just click the team lead.
Yeah,
Leaderboard. Yeah, sorry. And you'll see that the game he won contributed to his sort of team score there, and your team is highlighted based off of which team you actually are part of.
Okay, could you go back to the slides? Future development. There's a lot to improve on for our P3 because our P3 is really scalable. You can continue to add more games to it, a bunch of games, 100 games. We can have a discussion forum for each of those games. We can have a section within this forum for each game. We can have a party mode for party games. So you would do a roulette of the games within the party mode for a certain amount of games and compare the overall score at the end. You can have a spectator mode. So you're just watching the games, you're not playing it. In particular for like a team spectator mode where you can watch your teammate. A global team chat that would work across the entire services where you can just see and communicate with your teams. Spotify integration, music always helps. And we could always use overhauling UI. We could always overhaul UI for the current games and just make the games look better, and possibly even increase the cap of some games so you can have more than 4 players for some of the games, or more than 2 players for some of the games. Could you go over to the next slide? And these are the people who contributed to this P3. Quick shout out to Steven, our trainer for our Revature batch. He was the most important member of our batch. And could you go over to the next slide? We will now shoot it back over to Asia to begin our questions.
As I try to find the unmute button. Alrighty, good job, guys. From here, whoever is sharing the screen can stop share. I'll share my screen. Go pessimist. Sadness. At this time, guys, we now will move on to the question and answer section of the showcase. I do ask we try to go in this order, so I will first be fielding any questions that are coming from any of our external guests. So anybody that is not with Revature, you're welcome to ask questions at this time. Second time around for asking questions. If not, I now will move forward with the Revature staff members. So anybody that's with Center of Excellence, staging, QC, or any other trainers, And anybody else with our Ravager staff are now welcome to ask questions.
Hey guys, amazing. I'm Chadro from Staging. We'll get to know each other. My question is regarding how was your communication between the different teams? What was the challenges? And if you can tell me a specific situation where you were dealing with the challenge and how did you overcome this challenge?
I guess I can take this question. So we mainly dealt with communication. Obviously, we communicated through Zoom, through Discord. We had our own team members. I often initiated communication between other teams as a Scrum Master, and we used a Trello Kanban board to basically dictate who was doing what for the workload. The challenge we had is more recently with the busy schedule we've been having with the client interviews, we've had to shift some people over from. We've had to basically have some people. We had teams work on with 2 members instead of the usual 4, and we kind of had to shift the workload into making it easier for those members and making it so that people who are shifting towards the client interviews they had more time to study.
All right, Chedro, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
Thank you. Andrew Schultz, you're now welcome to ask your question.
Yeah. Hey guys. Great presentation. Good to see you all again. So I kind of understand the architecture a little bit more, but I'm curious, out of all the games that you had to like refactor and integrate into that central hub, which one was the most difficult to kind of get integrated into the bigger picture, Because I know .NET, like the party games had to be refactored and oriented around the rest of these, but which one had the hardest integration? And just beyond that, how much fun was Project 3?
I can take this question again, at least for party games. For the 4 games, I would say the hardest to integrate was Blackjack because we had to do an entire overhaul of the entire game to get it working multiplayer. Obviously, we had issues with Snake because it's a more live time, real time soccer connection where you have to constantly send the game state, whereas Blackjack was turn based. But I think Blackjack, Snake had a bit more work from the previous P2. As far as the other projects, the other P2s that we included in our P3, I would say the other team leads would have a better idea of what was harder for them to shift over to our P3.
I can go next. As far as the battleship portion was concerned, for the P2 originally, it was just the sea layer and adding in that cooperative layer with the air, as well as recognizing who is on what team while you're playing, was a lot more of a challenge than we had originally thought. As well as just integrating the leaderboard itself to reflect those elements of it, as well as just finding enough assets with the planes, with the sound effects. It was a good transformation from P2, a good expansion rather, to just add more to already a really good project. So it was a lot of fun to tackle. And as far as P3, how fun it was a lot more fun, I believe, than the other projects, just because of how much we worked together as a team. So it was a lot of fun to cooperate.
All right. Is that all of the answers from this previous question not being answered? And Andrew, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
All right. Richard, you're now welcome to ask a question.
Thank you. First off, nice job, everybody. Well presented. I've got 2 questions, and I want to take a second to talk about your Git repos. So you guys mentioned that this is refactored P2s. So in your refactoring, did you guys have to come up with a Git branching structure for what you were doing? And like what kind of conventions did you have in your code and in your branching structure? And the second, a follow-up, recently GitHub has changed some of their authorization for their accessing tokens and things. Did you guys run into any issues with that, and how did you guys handle it?
I guess I can take that question. So we had, each project was had their own repos, at least on the back end, and through the pipeline, those were pretty easily made separate. The only real challenge was once we started integrating our games, having everyone work off of sort of the same repository was definitely a challenge. To solve that, we all had our own separate development branches for each team, and then those would be then merged into the main at certain intervals. As for dealing with changes to GitHub and their authorization, we didn't really encounter much of that. Maybe because we were taught this sort of more recent version, accessing tokens for accessing the various, Sonar Cloud and Docker Hub was all pretty straightforward.
Thank you, Sean.
All right, Richard, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Asia.
No problem. At this time, unless I got any more Ravature staff members that want to ask a question, Kenny.
Were any of the live chats persisted, or were there any difficulties merging these different live chats around the game or around your project? Because I imagine some of these live chats were from different services. Was there any difficulties merging them all together?
So yeah, one of the things is that what we wanted to do is have sort of a global chat service. We got started on that sort of with the team chat, but it was using SignalR, and everyone had already sort of used Socket.io. So unfortunately, well, first off, the chats are not persistent. We know how to do that in terms of saving the message to the database, and when a user connects, the previous messages would be pushed, but that's something we didn't quite get to. And yeah, since the other chat services were using their own separate socket servers, that's another thing that we didn't quite get to, unfortunately.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kevin. All right, any last call for any Ravature staff member questions? If not, I will now move over the question and answer section to any of our Ravature associates. Any of our other guests are in the room at this time. You're now welcome to ask questions to the batch. Any associate questions, and you could be an associate from a different batch, and welcome to ask questions at this time. If not, the QC analyst does have a couple of questions for the batch. First question being, out of the ones that I haven't heard from yet, what was the biggest takeaway from this project?
I could answer this question. So I would say the biggest takeaway from this is that communication and teamwork is one of the most important things about software engineering. So when you were creating software of a certain size and with a certain size of the group, communicating amongst developers and being all on the same page is very important, not only to be creating a working product, but for creating a quality product. So I would say that good communication is a good takeaway.
Okay, anybody else from the batch that wants to take that question as well? This is really just a time period for anybody else that hasn't spoken yet from the batch to answer this question. If not, question number 2 from your QC analyst. As far as for the overall design of your guys' website with all this whole project, was there any measures that you guys took into account when making this website accessible to the colorblind?
I could answer this a little bit. When I was designing the sprites for the battleship on the sea level, I ensured that they all had a distinct shape so that even if you couldn't tell the different shades of gray between them, you'd be able to tell what they are.
Okay. Thank you, Travis. That actually explains a lot. I was like, okay, there are a lot of grays and browns, but I'm assuming somebody took that into thought. What about with Song, Sing, or any of the other games in y'all's project?
For songs sync specifically, no. Part of the drawing aspect is being able to use different colors to make your drawing more descriptive or in-depth. So that was not considered, but that's certainly something to be considered for a future.
And I think within .NET Party games, we use pretty distinctive colors. So I don't know if necessarily there'd be a colorblind problem within our application or our service. I might have to look in more depth into that.
No worries. Before I move on to the last part of this presentation, then if there is any more questions on the floor, anybody now is welcome to ask any questions. If not, I do want to open up the floor now to your guys' as trainer to say any final words that he would like to say. So Stephen, do you have any words for your match?
So my final words is actually after this P3 showcase. So it's a bit more private. But good job with your P3, really impressive. I'm really proud, especially the last part of your PowerPoint. It's a highlight for me. But other than that, it was really impressive what you guys did. I know you did a bunch of researching beyond my training to achieve this. And really, that's a very good skill set to learn as a software developer, because the chances are you're going to run into problems you have no clue how to solve, and you have to look into it to solving them. So I'm really happy you got into that behavior. If you remember in week 1, that is exactly what I said. Basically, the core of what software engineer is going to be is you're going to be researching a lot of things, and you have to figure out what information out there, because we have so much information out there that will pertain to your problem. And you guys did a really good job. You guys incorporated a lot of technologies I didn't taught you, and that was really impressive.
I was about to say, Stephen, don't give away your whole speech now. You still got to say them something.
Okay. Well, that's my speech then, Asia.
I'm just joking. Overall, guys, good job. And before we get up out of here, there is one other thing that I want to do for you guys as well. First off, at least as your QC analyst, I'm glad to see the growth that you guys have implemented over the last few weeks. I have no doubt in my mind that you'll be successful as you move forward onto the next big part of your journey. But without further ado, before we all get out of here, there's one other thing we need to take care of, and that is this. So on that note, everyone, thank you so much for coming out to this showcase. Batch, good job once again, and congratulations on a job well done. And I look forward to see what you guys do in the future. On that note, that will be the end of this showcase. Thank you everybody for coming out, and I hope everybody has a good rest of your day.